Hello everybody, it's Drew from Prepare for Collapse. I want to talk a bit today about something I blogged about 2 weeks ago called the Preparedness Hierarchy of Needs. Specifically, I want to talk about the first 4 items on the preparedness hierarchy, the things that are the immediate needs of the human body to survive. And those 4 things are air, shelter, water, and food. And those are really in the order of the length of time you can live without them. And I want to talk a little bit today about perception of preparedness versus practical preparedness. The first thing on the hierarchy is air. And most people think of chemical agents or some sort of chemical accident when they think of problems with availability of air. Now, the human body can only live 3 to 5 minutes without access to air and can probably function even less than that. The reason I don't think gas masks are practical is they're part of a greater chemical protection system. Those chemical protection systems require full body suits. They require a number of specialized items of personal protective equipment in addition to the gas mask itself. They also require specialized training. They require specialized first aid and self-aid medical equipment. And more importantly, require the ability to properly decontaminate yourself after exposure. Now, for somebody that's in a military context, soldiers and those kinds of things, they have the infrastructure for that system to work. In the civilian world, the vast majority of people do not have the capability or the training to make that system work. The second reason is that the thing that you're most likely to face in a disaster or emergency situation as a threat to your air supply is carbon monoxide. Statistics will show that there are thousands of people who have died as a result of carbon monoxide exposure, particularly in times whenever utility services have been interrupted or there's been a disaster. And almost every instance of that is through inappropriate use of a heating device, inappropriate use of a cooking device, or inappropriate use of a gasoline-powered generator. Now, these are the things you need to be concerned about to protect your air supply. Things like chemicals and terrorist attacks we can protect ourselves against with situational awareness. You have to be aware of what's going on in your situation. If there are smells or vapors or gaseous substances that are being released in your immediate vicinity, chances are those are bad for you and you need to leave that area as quickly as possible. That's going to be a more viable survival strategy than attempting to carry the complete suite of personal protective equipment you need with you to protect against all chemical threats, because you as an individual do not have the ability to identify a chemical threat until you're already experiencing the symptoms. And if these things are causing, at the point they can cause symptoms, you've already reached the point that that equipment is not going to help you. The final thing you may face a threat from with respect to your air supply on a routine basis would be from particulate matter or pathogens in the air. And the most common way to protect against those is with a particulate dust mask. This is a 3M N95 mask. It's very common. A lot of people in the preparedness community use these. They're a little difficult to keep structurally intact when you've got them in an everyday carry bag, but they're nice to have around, and they're things you can put in your car and those kind of things. You can also use a bandana as an emergency expedient. The second thing on the list is shelter. Now, depending on the circumstances you're in, you can live, a fairly long time without shelter in a moderate temperate environment, but in more hostile environments. And those are things that are below about 40 degrees or above about 85 degrees, or you're in situations where you have a lot of wetness or a lot of dryness or snow or other inclement weather conditions. You can live anywhere from a few minutes to a few days without shelter. But in terms of shelter, shelter really means the ability to keep your body in a condition where it can function. And that's either warm enough or cool enough that you can continue to do the things that you need to do to assist with your own survival. Now, reasonably, what can you do to help you with the things you're most likely to face? First thing you can do is dress appropriately for the weather and be aware of what the weather's going to be. Here in central Kentucky, it was 70 degrees yesterday. It's going to be about 25 degrees tonight. What's going to be appropriate dress for those two conditions is going to be much different. So you just have to plan out what you're going to do. If you're going to be gone for a couple of days, see what the weather's going to be like and make sure you've got clothes appropriate to that. The second thing you can do as part of your everyday carry is to carry something like this. This is just a standard military issue poncho made of nylon. This is the one that I keep in my bug out bag, and these are really versatile. I like the poncho because you can use it just in everyday circumstances. You can use it when it's raining if you forgot your umbrella, and you can use it in a lot of other ways. But it can also be converted to shelter with very basic things. One of the things that you'll see about this one is it's still got the ties on the corners. And the reason I don't take these off, a lot of people do, but the reason I don't is this is integral to this poncho. So if I have to grab this poncho, I don't have to search for other materials in my environment before I can make an immediate shelter, or I limit my search. I just have to find something that I can make a peak in the roof with, and a couple of rocks to tie it down. You can use a fence line, you can use your car. There's lots of things you can do to sort of spread this out, to keep the rain off of you, to keep the sun off of you, to do things that increase the level of shelter that you have. The second thing that I keep with me in my everyday carry bag is a safety of life emergency bivvy. A Mylar blanket will work, anything along those lines works. These are very lightweight, but it can keep you warm enough, or it can be used to create a reflective shelter to keep the sun off of you. One of the other aspects of shelter is the ability to make fire. The reason the ability to make fire is important is sometimes your shelter, if you just have a tarp, is not going to be enough to keep you warm, and it also provides you with additional means to purify water, additional means to procure food. You don't have to have a lot of outdoor skills. I think it's good to learn those, but if you're just starting out, the simplest thing you can do is pick up a Bic lighter in the line at the grocery store checkout. These things work, they work well. You have to learn how to use them properly, and by using them properly, I mean you need to learn how to build a fire. And that's a little beyond the scope of this video. I may do one here in the not too distant future about how you actually build a fire up. It's fairly easy to find, and it's fairly easy to learn how to do, but you need to learn how to do that. But a Bic lighter is the easiest way to start off. The next thing you want to carry with you is a bottle of water. This is the easiest solution, just to grab a bottle of water that you can toss in your everyday carry bag or keep with you at all times. You never know when you're going to be stuck in a situation, if there's a problem in your building with the water supply in the building, or there's some power interruption that you're going to be stuck somewhere, and it's good to have that water with you to drink. It's also important to have a container that you can use to purify water in later. And the reason water purification is important is just about every source of water you're going to encounter outside of a municipal water supply in the United States is unfit to drink without purification or some form of treatment. What I carry every day with me to treat water is a two-tiered system. The first thing is water treatment tablets, and those you need a 1 liter container to use them effectively. The treatment system that I choose to use is chlorine dioxide tablets. There's several different brands. They're all exactly the same. There's also iodine, which I don't use because a lot of the water sources here are somewhat cooler, and treating that water for cryptosporidium, which is an issue here, takes more time with iodine than it does with chlorine dioxide. The second treatment system that I carry with me is I have the metal canteen that I talked about in my everyday carry video that allows me to boil water. And that's a canteen that's made specifically so that you can take the plastic lid off and set that aside, and you can boil water in that canteen or in the cup that canteen goes in, which goes back to where you need fire. Boiling water to purify it or to kill pathogens in it is one of the oldest techniques humanity has for purifying water. And it's a fairly effective technique. It's not going to get chemicals out, but it will get the most dangerous things for you in terms of what you're likely to face out, and that's biological problems, things like Giardia and cryptosporidium and the other biological pathogens in water. Boiling water is going to take those out. And now, food's the last thing I want to talk about. My system, I carry lifeboat rations. You can also carry anything that's a densely compacted storable food supply. You want to change those out fairly regularly. Lifeboat rations are a little more durable. I don't have to think about them as much. But in my survival system or my preparedness system, I have the lifeboat rations to allow me to function to get back to the location where I have my 30-day supply of long-term food stored. And today we've talked about the 4 things you need so that your body can function efficiently: air, shelter, water, and food. Next week, I want to talk about the things that you need to have your survival network function efficiently, in addition to those things that your body needs. And those 4 things, in addition to the 4 we talked about today, are going to be security, energy, information, and social interaction. So what I've tried to get across today is that there are things that you can do that are reasonable preparations that are very inexpensive and very practical. And there's no need to go and purchase, thousands of dollars of equipment to protect yourself from chemical warfare, because it's not going to work anyway, and most people don't have the training and things they need to do that, and it's very unlikely you'll face those kind of risks. Rather, you need to do practical things to learn about the risks that you face. Learn about how to protect yourself from carbon monoxide risks. Learn about how to build shelter and to build fire so that you can maintain your body in a condition where it can function appropriately. Learn about how to purify water. Learn about the risks there are to the water supply in your community. Learn about what pathogens the water is likely to carry. There may be certain pathogens that are primarily there in the summer and some that are in the winter, and you might need to adjust your preparations appropriately. And the last thing I would say is be practical. Don't just throw an EDC kit together and say, this is it, I'm going to use this all the time. Think about each day and each week, how the weather conditions are changing, how the environment is changing around you, how things are changing around you, because ultimately the best tool for preparedness is situational awareness, making sure you know what's going on around you. But I've been Drew for Prepare for Collapse. Please subscribe, like, and comment. If there's a video that I can do that will help you with some aspect of your preparedness strategy, or there's some question you'd like to ask me, please feel free to do that. I look forward to hearing from you all, and have a great week.